Hello and welcome to Red Shirt Cinema Club, a podcast about fandom and watching things with friends. A change of plan from the advertised billing this week as we take a moment to reflect on our own personal experiences with fandom. How have the things we like shaped who we are and embedded themselves into our identity, and other such insightful navel-gazing. Please do contact us with your own stories. For now though, let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Red Shirt Cinema Club. I am your host, Rob Pearson. We are joined today by David Jackson.
Hello.
And Nathan Dighton.
Hello.
The full trio. I forgot the word for three
trio.
people then.
Are you feeling better, Nath?
Yeah, mostly.
Are you going to cough?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm going to.
Congratulations.
We're going to cut it out.
Yeah. Or we'll think we've cut it out, and people in the comments will say, funny cough at this bit.
So, in a change to the advertised schedule, we will not be starting our voyage across to a galaxy far, far away today.
We weren't ready.
We weren't quite ready, and I think, as you may have seen Dave's post on the Patreon, if you're not a member of the Patreon, just a quick update that we will be venturing into Star Wars land at some point this year, but we want to make it special, like we did for Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you haven't read my post on Patreon, it's public. You don't even have to be a Patreon to go and read it. And just to sort of
How generous
double down,
of you, Dave.
I know. Just to sort of double down on it, I suppose. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for bearing with us. It's very much on me, really, because I am excited to do Star Wars on Red Shirt Cinema Club. I feel like I only get one shot at doing it, which may or may not be true. Maybe we'll do it every year. And right now, being a new dad, my time is short, and I didn't want to just end up watching Star Wars on my phone in bed and then saying, I love it.
It's the ethos of what we're trying to do is enjoy films that we're probably a bit familiar with and then like reassess them. There has to be some value to the rewatch.
Definitely.
A little bit of context. And Star Wars has been in the background of a bunch of the conversations that we've had about other sci-fi movies. So it didn't feel right to just watch Star Wars
do it.
and then just go, yeah, it was Star Wars.
No.
So we needed to be ready. And Lord of the Rings I set a pretty high bar.
Yes.
I had such a good time rewatching them.
Yeah. That's
And
what I want. I mean, I had a
was-
good time rewatching them, but I want another good time rewatching Star Wars.
The episodes were so long as well.
They were.
Lord of the Rings.
They were.
They were.
So we haven't quite landed on exactly where we're going to go next with the podcast. There are a few things that, well, I think we all want to watch. There are a few ideas floating around.
There's a list.
Maybe it would be helpful for if you are listening to this and you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see us tackle. Please do get in contact with us. Our email address is redshirtcinemaclub@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on social media. We're on X, we're on Blue Sky. We will read them. Probably we'll ignore them and decide something else ourselves.
Yep.
But we've talked
You
about
can try.
maybe doing The Matrix, or people have suggested Bond. I know Bond's in their headlines a lot at the moment. There's loads we can
We
do.
do half a year of Bond.
Yes.
Well,
Constant
I thought
Bond.
we'd do, one film, like the first film of each actor. So 6.
6
in
Bonds.
total.
Are there only six? Are there only 6 Bonds? I thought there was more. In my head, there was like 9.
There's unofficial Bonds,
Are there?
Are there?
aren't there?
Is there
Don't know.
audio Bond?
Oh, there's tons of audio Bonds, I'm sure.
Was Ian Holm ever an audio Bond?
I don't think so.
Probably not, no.
He's not quite mean enough.
There's Connery, Lazenby, Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, and your man, the latest one, Craig.
Craig.
Yeah.
Craig sounds like just some guy. Oh, Craig will do it.
But for today, there will probably be a little bit of Star Wars chat today. We're going to talk about our experiences with fandom, and we've talked about a lot of these things over the course of various episodes, but never like a full discussion around it, about it.
It's true.
So this is going to be lots of personal anecdotes, personal stories. Please do get in contact with us and share your own. I've already enjoyed reading a few of the emails that have come in from people who have worked in cinemas in the past. So we'll be tackling those in a future mailbag as well, I'm sure. But firstly, just in terms of this can be anything you're a fan of. It could be a film, it could be music, it could be video games, it could be football. It might be a little bit of football for me.
Bloody football.
So, physically going places as a result of fandom, have you ever travelled anywhere as a result of fandom? For example, like a convention or a midnight launch or something, or a concert.
I have.
Yeah, loads. Yeah.
I mean, you go, Nath.
Well, I wrote about it on Patreon. I guess the one that pops into mind. I went to see the outside of David Lynch's house.
So this is like a self-organised pilgrimage that you've made.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a community-driven thing.
No, in fact,
I'm going to go there by myself.
Yeah, it wasn't official. If anything, it was discouraged. But I did do that. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to a fan event on my own. Do you know what I mean? Like a con. We have worked at games expos.
Yeah.
And I guess on that, Rob, just to chuck it back to you, because it's famously, they used to do a thing called PSX, PlayStation Expo. Was it Expo? I don't know, maybe it was just X.
Experience.
Yeah. And you and I got to go to one of those each, and Dave never went, which is something he's never really forgiven us for. But I would say they were brilliant.
Yes, you keep saying that.
I was
about to say I don't really blame you for it, but then you keep throwing it in my face with like, God, they were good.
I don't know what it just. I feel like more than. I don't know. I think maybe because we were at that time on the channel that we make aside from this podcast, central to a global community. Do you know what I mean? So going there didn't just feel like, if I go to a Spurs game or whatever, then like I like Tottenham, but I don't really feel like, do you know what I mean? One of the lads. I'm like, I'm enjoying the football and then I'm going home. But I did feel part of that community, and I felt like I'd earned the right to be there, and and it was great. I loved it.
Oh, well, goody for you.
PSX. And Rob?
I'm not sure how I feel about conventions, really. And I have been to some, I mean, as you said, Nath, like with our jobs, I've been really lucky actually to go to lots of things that as a fan I have loved. And it's been a reason to go and sometimes even the kind of means to go to some things. I've been to lots of Star Wars conventions with work.
That's true, yeah.
I was lucky enough to go to Star Wars Celebration in Florida when they announced, or not announced, it was like the kind of reveal trailer for The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
At a time when I was super excited for The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to any of the like talks or anything, but just being in the convention at that time and people were just congregating. Everyone knew the trailer was going to drop and we were just congregating in areas around televisions to just try and catch a snatch of this trailer in particular, as well as just
there's
bits
a video
of
of you watching it, isn't there?
Yeah, I think there is.
You on wheels.
I made one of my best ever jokes at that Star Wars celebration.
Oh yeah,
what was that?
It was. I mean, it's so nerdy. It was. I'd found my audience. I felt like I rose to be like king of the nerds for 3 seconds. It was. We were somewhere on the floor, on the convention center floor. I can't remember particularly what this like little stand was, but there was a bunch of us, like loads of people around a stage, and the sound was terrible. You couldn't really hear, and the host was interviewing. Oh God, why have I forgotten his name? I'm a real Star Wars fan. Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, and he came out, and the sound was just. It was just like. We just couldn't hear. Big booming room, with thousands of people in there at all these different places, and people gathered around the stage trying to hear. And we were all commenting on the sound. And I said, I've kind of ruined it by saying sound so many times. I said, he doesn't like sound.
Wow.
And
wow.
Honestly, the titter around me. There was two or three people noticed and really enjoyed it. But yes, I
like when you say something funny in a WhatsApp group when you get 3 or 4 laughing emojis. And you're like, yeah.
But I'm not really sure what I want from a convention. I've always found the experience of going a little bit disappointing. I'm talking about Star Wars Celebration really, and conventions. mostly, because often I find it's just full of things to buy, which is fine, because I'm sure you'll talk about buying things later, Rob. I'm very a big fan of stuff and Star Wars stuff, but I've always felt like I wanted a little bit more from these conventions that I've never quite found, and I don't know what that is. And I'm also quite a shy person, so a bit like you, Nath, going to the football and enjoying the football, but maybe not just talking to everyone around you, just going like, God, Spurs are great. Who else loves Spurs? I'm not really sort of talking to people around me, even though probably I imagine that is where the joy is meeting like-minded people and just going, are you excited for the Last Jedi? God, I'm excited. It's going to be good. I didn't do that, and that is a regret of mine. But yeah, I don't know if you guys had good experiences at conventions.
Yeah, I think so. I've been to some of the ones we've worked at. Obviously, the same
You've
as
been
you
to
both.
some of the ones we've worked at.
But others I've been to sort of almost, just for pleasure, not working at, would be the Final Fantasy Distant World concerts at the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
And that's just great. Just a big theatre full of people who all love Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And some of them go and they're dressed up as their favourite characters. And it's just nice being in a place where you don't have to feel embarrassed about liking Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Because often my experience, especially at school, was that no one else really liked Final Fantasy. In fact, I was often mocked for liking Final Fantasy. Why do you play this game where you have to press X to make some lights flash and take it in turns to hit? It's rubbish. But going to those concerts is great. And hearing, there's something about music as well, isn't there? And I guess that, memories of things or moments where whatever you're a fan of has meant a lot to you, they can be released by music or by things you collect. And so everyone getting this experience of being transported back to moments and games that have meant a lot to them over the years, whatever point in their life it was, all in this, the sound in the Royal Albert Hall is amazing. It's quite an emotional experience, seeing everyone moved by the music. It's pretty cool.
It makes sense because, like Dave, when you say you don't really know why people go to,
not why do people go?
I get it though. Like, what's the thing?
Yeah.
And music is a great example of it's an activity. Like everything that Rob's just said. It's nostalgic and it reminds you, and it's like a nice way to extend the experience of the thing that you loved in the first place. I was going to say, it reminds me that one of the things that I have I do have positive experiences of expos and stuff, but I think one thing which people go for is to meet celebrities or performers, which I feel enormously ambivalent about, because
I think I feel worse than that, but not ambivalent, but I just feel it's just not for me. It scares me.
It does. There's no good. I feel like it's enormously naive to put my thoughts and feelings about a particular character or performance or film or movie that I like onto a human being who has good days, bad days, and is, after all, just a human being.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an enormous, like you see it on fan forums and on Reddit all the time, where like someone was rude when they ordered a coffee, and then everyone's like, I'm sure I was about to start smashing up celebrities. But the point is that we just don't really know, do we? And I feel exactly the same urge and sort of temptation to do all of those things. You know what I mean? To judge people from a distance and be like, I want people to be nice. Of course I do. I want to hear that they spent ages talking to every fan, and wow, this person was in this thing I liked, is a super great person. But ultimately, why it shouldn't matter, and also that way only disappointment lies. So I feel
also,
weird about the parasocial element to it.
But also, I'm disappointed in myself that I feel like I am missing out on meeting celebrities, because I actively shy away from it. If you said to me right now, Harrison Ford's in the next room, I know him.
Harrison?
Do you want to introduce?
Harrison?
Shall I introduce you? I'd say no. I'm not going in there. Let me know when he's gone.
What would you say to Harrison Ford if you ever did meet him?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Would you say a Star Wars quote?
No, I wouldn't say a Star Wars quote.
Would
to
you say
him.
an Indiana Jones quote?
No, I wouldn't say an Indiana Jones
Blade Runner quote?
No, I wouldn't say a quote. I wouldn't do any quotes. That's my point. But I feel like I am the one missing out. I actually was in a pub beer garden recently, and Liam Gallagher was there, and I'm not like a huge Oasis fan, but I've really enjoyed Oasis in the past, and I'm going to go and see Oasis later this year. And more than that, Liam Gallagher is somewhat of a cultural icon that it would be cool to meet for many people.
Yeah.
Everyone I was with went over and spoke to him, and he was extremely nice, and they got a photo with him.
I'm so pleased.
He had a little chat.
Yeah.
Apart from me, and I was just too embarrassed really to do it, and I don't know
and
so I didn't.
Do
And
you know
then-
what? I don't know who it's for, because the famous person doesn't care about me.
I agree, but then the counterpoint to that is that we've had the most tiniest experience with having recognizable faces because of the job that we've done.
People
And
who've
we've had
enjoyed our
very
work.
nice moments where people have come up and just said, "Hi, I just wanted to say I really love PlayStation Access. I really love what you do."
And I've hated every one of those interactions.
and that's really,
Dave.
really
I've
lovely.
hated it.
It's really, really
I've
nice.
hated every individual who's come up. I've hated them.
So why couldn't I say to Harrison Ford, "Hi, Harrison Ford, I really loved you as Han Solo and Indiana Jones and Deckard."
Because he could say something that could scar you forever.
He would. I mean, he would. That's the thing. He would go out of his way to
And
do
that's
that.
why. So about 10 years ago now, I walked past Michael Palin in Bloomsbury.
Oh,
Michael Palin
what
is
a guy.
huge
Fan of yours.
hero of mine. And ultimately, I just thought he doesn't want to know. You know what I mean, I'm going to stop him on the street. He's going somewhere.
Yeah, I think
This is-
stopping
this
him.
is
I think
wild.
stopping someone on the street is maybe. But then
thought
approaching
about
someone
it,
in a
but-
beer garden is also.
I know. I thought about it for 10 years about what I would say, and you know what I mean.
Have you come
it's-
up with it
it's
yet?
Crazy. No, I still don't know what I know. I would just be super polite, you know. But
You
also,
could- yeah.
then I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't. What is it for? What is
Yeah.
it for?
I wish I did have in fact, I tried to with Elijah Wood
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
And I'm proud that you did, Rob. I think you did the right thing there.
And I want to just clarify as well. I like it when people come up and speak to me.
Oh, I was joking. I don't mind.
I like it, especially if it's
It is
in the
nice.
street, especially if I'm with someone like my wife or my family, because
Yeah.
then I just look really cool for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember I was on holiday in Malta once, and a member of staff from one of the restaurants recognised me, and all of my wife's family are Maltese, and they were just like, "Wow,
A moment of
that's so
respect.
cool."
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's right. I imagine, it happens to me maybe once every 3 months. If you're Harrison Ford walking around,
Yeah.
it's probably just all the time.
Do you know the thing that it always made me feel? I don't know if you guys feel the same. Is that if however often it happens, like once every 3 months, how many people are looking and know me but don't say anything, which is sort of weirder. I'm glad that people announce
Right.
Email in. If you've
Have you
seen
ever
one
seen
of
us?
us and haven't said anything,
and if you've ever seen us
email
doing
in.
anything weird.
Yeah, were we in bad moods?
Yeah. Did you think these guys don't want to talk to me?
Does anyone else feel like this out there?
Like-
Also,
like
what are
I
some
did
great
with Michael
interactions
Palin.
you've had with celebrities? I'd like to know. Occasionally, we've been lucky enough again through work to meet people that other people have queued up to meet who I would be too scared
That's
to talk
true,
to,
yeah.
like a Nolan North, for example.
Yeah.
who's
He's
someone I
always
know.
relentlessly charming.
He's
such
so
a pro, man.
fantastic.
He's so good at what he does.
Obviously, Nathan, you and I met Sigourney Weaver, which was terrifying, and she
Yeah.
was so lovely. And even though I don't think I actually spoke to her whatsoever, I'm glad that we had that
Yeah,
terrifying moment with her.
She seemed extremely professional, but also kind.
Yes.
Tom Felton is the nicest celebrity I think I've ever met.
Yeah.
And Warwick Davis.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
both
nice.
just...
Great couple of celebs.
Tom Felton, I interviewed him in the potions room at the Harry Potter studio tour, and he was just very welcoming and friendly. Like it's like, "Oh, what's your name? Oh, Rob, have we met before, Rob? I feel like I've met you before."
Wow.
And I was,
What a trick. If that's a trick, it's an amazing.
I
it's a
think it's
great
a trick.
trick.
I think it's a trick. It was long before PlayStation Access was established, so it couldn't have been that he just happened to see a YouTube video of me, and he was just
Yeah.
making me feel. Because I was very, very nervous.
Yeah.
If
It made me feel
anyone
calm and settled.
If anyone's got the right to be fed up with talking to people, it's the kids in that goddamn.
Oh my goodness
set of
me, yeah.
movies.
Yeah, for sure. And Warwick Davis just talked to me about how he really liked playing Battlefield 3.
He seemes like a really nice guy.
He is.
My opinion on Warwick Davis is that he might be the worst actor professionally working.
Yes. I have.
come on
if
now.
anyone has seen the Willow the
Well,
series,
they took it off
I mean,
the internet.
Have they taken it? They haven't.
Yeah. But, I mean,
What do you mean?
Well, when all of the stupid streaming services were like trying to save money, that was why it didn't do as well as they wanted, and then you can't watch it.
You can't watch it.
I don't believe so.
My God.
And he was catastrophically bad.
What about as Professor Flitwick in Harry Potter?
He's
all
barely
right.
in
He's
it,
all right.
isn't he?
Is that
Yeah.
scene where Hagrid stabs the fork in his hand, and he's like, "Oh, you idiot!"
He's very funny in extras.
Yeah.
He is. And there's that other Ricky Gervais thing he was in, the whole series that they made with him. Ricky Gervais made with Warwick Davis.
Is it a size pun?
Almost certainly.
He's
yeah.
classy, isn't he, Ricky
I can't remember what it was called. It was quite bad,
Yeah.
as I think most Ricky Gervais stuff is. But I remember finding that quite funny.
But there we go.
Well, he was
Yeah.
just honoured at the BAFTAs, wasn't he? Warwick Davis.
Was he?
He was.
He was, yeah.
Which is nice.
I think Warwick Davis is great. Anyway, I've only asked one question so far of 17.
What have you been
So-
to any other like places? You mentioned Final
Yeah, let's
Fantasy.
slow this down. that was
Also,
fun.
no, I just wanted to make sure because I just wanted to make sure
I-
that we'd sort of talked about different fandoms as well.
I have very much not taken part in fandoms as much as I would have liked, and I'm trying to make a conscious effort to go. Like later this month, I'm going to see Public Service Broadcasting, which is one of my favourite
Oh,
bands. They're playing in Bath.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
At the Forum. I think on the 19th of March, so I'm going to see them.
That's good.
Stuart Lee's coming back here in May. I'm going to see him
Yeah.
then. I'm going to take my Stuart Lee book along and queue up to meet him after the show and get him to
Fantastic.
sign my book.
He'll love that.
And I'm trying to think of a funny story to tell him.
Just say, "Hi, Stuart. Could you sign my book, please?"
I was going to. The last time we went to see him at the Forum, we had dinner before we went.
Yeah.
And he made me laugh so much in the first half of the show that I got a really bad stomachache.
I remember.
And spent most of the second half of the show in the toilet.
Yes, I remember that.
So I might tell him that.
I think that the second half might have even been better than the first as
I
well.
think it was. I heard a lot of laughing.
Right.
I came back out as he was doing his Ricky Gervais saying the unsayable routine,
Yeah.
which made me laugh incredibly hard again.
Well, thanks for inviting Nathan I to Stuart Lee with you, Rob. That's
Not just that, Dave. I want to say, I think I sent Rob the link to Public Service Broadcasting at the Forum, and Rob didn't reply. But he did buy a ticket.
No, but that was before. They're coming back in March.
I'm pretty sure that's the link I sent you.
Oh.
There we go. It's fine. It's fine. I'm away then anyway.
Go if you want.
Yes.
I
course
just
we
go
can.
into these things. There was only one ticket left for Stuart Lee.
Well,
Brilliant.
I'm genuinely glad you're going to enjoy the things that you like.
So am I. And I'm going to see Crystal Palace this weekend,
Perlus.
which I did invite you both to.
You did. That's
You did.
true.
Thank you. Yes. Sort of.
What's question number 2?
Question number 2. Well, I might move on to a different category of question because we're definitely not going to have time to get through all of these. So we've talked about all of that. Let's talk about owning and collecting and buying things. I know you have done this, Nath, having read your most recent issue of the Civilian Observer. But just an open question. Have you ever collected items connected to a thing you're a fan of? And what is the most obscure thing you own?
Ooh. Dave, why don't you go?
Yeah, I was thinking. I read Nate's edition of the Civilian Observer yesterday. Really enjoyed it, and really enjoyed all the things, Nate, that you took pictures of all the things and that you have. And I was kind of a bit sad because it made me think about things from my past, and I think that I have been a bit adult about some things and sort of sent them the way of the dodo during house moves and tried to be like, no, I like space rather
Same.
than things.
Same.
in those spaces. And I do regret it, because, especially now, because it feels like I actually have a forum to enjoy them a little bit. With Red Shirt Cinema Club, it's a good excuse for me to just have things and enjoy them and maybe talk about them, and therefore that gives them some wider purpose than to take up some space in my house.
Owning them isn't enough.
Yeah,
which is I think a good argument for having gotten rid of them in the first place. It's like you can, like, not everyone's going to have a podcast. I mean, one day actually everyone will have a podcast. But that can't be the reason you keep stuff.
No, it can't be the reason that you keep stuff. And I've definitely got rid of some stuff that that I kind of regret. I mean, silly things as well. For some reason, I keep thinking about the stupid Tazo book. Do you remember Tazos?
Yeah, I when you mentioned that yesterday, I also did that book.
Tazos.
Yeah, they
Small
were like
discs.
They were basically just small discs,
like Pogs.
Yeah, they were like a precursor to Pogs, I think, or maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, you'd collect them in crisp packets, and
I remember things out of crisp packets.
This was during the re-release of Star Wars in the cinemas in the late 90s. You'd get this it's like a sticker book basically, but they were Tazos, so they were like hard cardboard discs with images, like frames from the movie printed on them. And so there was I don't know how many, but 100-page like kind of book that you would push these Tazos in to complete the picture. And I had 1.5 completed books. I also like crisps.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It wasn't difficult. And I got rid of that. Which has just kind of haunted me ever since, which is silly because there's nothing particularly exciting about them.
Just little bits of plastic from crisp
just
packets,
bits of,
man.
yeah, exactly. And
but the thing is, whenever I go to a museum or like a fair or whatever, and I see that stuff, I do have a pang. I had a bunch of that stuff as well.
I don't want the book. It's not like if I saw one at a car boot, I'd buy it. It's more like the memory of doing it and the joy it gave me at the time.
Yeah, right.
And like my fandom for Star Wars going back that far, and I guess it's all of those things. It's like I want those specific items that I collected.
Star Wars is a funny one as well because there's that early generation of like toys and extra bits, marketing stuff. So the collectible market, even when, everyone used to bang on about, you should buy the toys and keep them boxed, and then one day they'll be worth millions of pounds or whatever, because that had happened to people who'd grown up in the 80s. And like I'd grown up in the 80s just playing with those toys and whatever. So by the time the 90s re-release and then prequels came around, I did the Tazos. And then I did, I sent off, I think Pepsi had, you got tokens, and I got like a C-3PO head with no skin.
Yeah, I've got that.
And you could press buttons and it would either speed up, or I think you could play stuff in reverse.
Yeah,
so
there was an R2-D2 that I had as well.
I think it was an alarm clock.
Yeah, it was an alarm clock. I had the same thing.
Yeah, I think a picture that I put up of my university bedroom on the Patreon has got the R2-D2 alarm clock in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
It's so funny that they were, the marketing for the prequel trilogy especially was so saturated. Like, there's little bits I remember from university. I remember a little sort of pretend bronze, like plastic Obi-Wan bust,
right?
Which for some reason we had like a small fire. I wasn't actually there. With small fire in our kitchen, and he got burnt, but we kept him anyway. And then he ended up in.
Imagine if it was an Anakin bust.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Anakin who gets burnt.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a false prediction from the kitchen of Taptonville Flats. Yeah,
but I don't think I've got anything that obscure or ever have really. I've done all the normal collecting things. I've got loads of books about Star Wars.
You've got a lightsaber.
I've got a lightsaber. I've got a lightsaber and a lightsaber hilt. I don't know if you could say that it's obscure or that unusual, but I do love it very much. I was, again, through work, I was really lucky to go to Galaxy's Edge last year, or no, the year before, as part of seeing Jedi Survivor at a preview event, and it was. I don't know. Have either of you been?
No.
Would either of you like to go?
Yeah.
It's somewhere. I haven't let you answer either of those questions, Nate.
Is it at Disneyland?
Yeah, it's at Disneyland, and it's somewhere that I think I would go on my own back at some point if I hadn't have already been.
Is it like a recreation of? Because I went to Disneyland after Disney had bought Star Wars, but before they'd really started doing stuff.
Yeah.
So there was like some backpacks and stuff.
It's like a whole area of Disneyland I don't know how big it is, how many square feet, and it's kind of, you just, you walk through this gate and you are just in Star Wars.
Fair.
It's outdoors, but everything is Star Wars. Like even the bins look somehow like Star Wars bins. It's appropriate.
Like R2-D2.
There are just characters walking around and they're doing little scenes and things, which is really enjoyable. There's stormtroopers everywhere who are just being stormtroopers.
That's so cool, because when I went to Disneyland, they'd made Space Mountain? They'd like made that into an X-Wing thing.
Right.
And that's like we've really got
We've
together.
reskinned.
We've bought Star Wars and we need a ride next week. What
Yeah.
can we do? So, and that's what I did.
There is a full-size Millennium Falcon, which is I found actually quite sort of moving to see. Really, you kind of come around a corner and the Millennium Falcon is docked there.
It's so funny that it's moving, but it shouldn't. I don't know where I feel about this. This is kind of pinpointing a big kind of thing I have with, which we've already kind of, it talks about meeting celebrities as well, which is basically like, I guess, cynicism versus like openness in being fans. And I think you can go too far, and I've probably gone too far in the cynicism factor over the years. Oh man, yeah, that reminds me of something. But just in terms of like, like someone's made like a fiberglass recreation of something that was in a movie. Should that be moving? But then also, why not go and share that moment? And
Yeah.
and the reason that, and also I think if you're too open, some fans are really annoying.
Yeah.
Like overreacting to everything on the internet, or like pretending that trailers are really exciting. Like that's too far.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I sit somewhere in the middle. Interesting. It reminds me, we went to Disneyland and my kid, Jay, who is an adult now, and at the time I think he was 15 or 16 and had grown up watching Cars, and that was like his favourite Pixar movie, collected all of the toy. Fuck me, my house is so full of those little die casts. He had like dozens of them. They were only £3.50 from Sainsbury's. They were brilliant, those toys. And this was probably a period of time when he was at it's a really difficult age, isn't it? And it's harder to be emotional or to sort of express yourself.
Well, when you're like 15, 16.
Yeah. And I think, so we went to Disneyland, and it's like a little bit stressful and fun, and at the same time we were having a nice time. But they had Radiator Springs there, which is like a similar, but like to Star Wars, but Galaxy's Edge, but a recreation of the town from Cars, and it's like 1-to-1. It is pretty amazing. And he was kind of, like dumbstruck by it, but like in a way where he wasn't like trying to hide it. He was just like, oh, this is like absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And the only experience that I can remember about reconnecting with something like that, something that I'd sort of forgotten that I loved as much as I did. I think the other thing is you kind of move on from stuff, especially from stuff when you're very young. And when Monty Python reformed, a friend of ours from PlayStation, they used to have a box at the O2, and I think on the day or the day before, he just sort of sent me a message and said, hey, I got a couple of spare tickets. Do you fancy coming and watching a Monty Python show? And it was something which had popped up. And I do this quite often with bands. Like, I guess the way I was talking about David Lynch the other week, I neglect, and that's why I'm genuinely glad that you ignored my message and you're going to see those bands on your own, Rob, it is a shame to deny yourself those things, or it's easier to feel a bit jaded or low energy about them. I don't know. And like, I used to really love Monty Python, and my dad had got me onto them. So like, there's a whole connection there. And I hadn't even considered trying to get tickets just because of the effort and the expense and whatever. And I went to watch them at the O2, and like, this was 15 years ago probably. And I knew I used to go to sleep listening to like old Secret Policeman's Ball, like Amnesty International, like fundraise stuff with the Python guys on. Like, I knew the words to every sketch that they did. And I think they did the Four Yorkshiremen, and I was so happy. I was just crying. I felt quite embarrassed about it, but also just felt like floodgates just opened of just like, oh yeah, I love this stuff. Like, why have I prevented myself from connecting with this? It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you felt like that going to Galaxy's Edge. Is that what seeing the Millennium Falcon was like?
I definitely felt, I definitely have a similar kind of, I'm definitely jaded as well. And I definitely think that I struggle to just open myself up to to fandom a little bit and just like fully enjoy it and just embrace it and just walk around and just, love that. But seeing the Millennium Falcon did just cut right through that somehow. And I don't know exactly why or how, but I wish I could walk around it with no one else there. That was the worst thing. Was just other people. Yeah, Ash in particular, obviously, but just all the other people. Like, I think that would be an amazing experience to get to.
Or just aliens.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just keep all the stormtroopers.
Harrison Ford's there.
Kylo Ren.
Is that good?
Han Solo can be there in
Right.
character. He's forced to.
Yeah.
I can see him.
Do you think anyone in the world is rich enough to hire that place out for a day and pay Harrison Ford enough money to come and pretend to be Harrison Ford for
Definitely.
like 20 minutes?
Definitely.
I wonder what
Quite
the
a
price
few
on that-
people are rich enough to do that, I
I
think.
wonder what the cost would be.
Which is sort of worrying. But I do, I have had other experiences like that, Nathan. I think music in particular is a big one for cutting straight through to the core. And I went to a John Williams concert, anniversary concert at the Albert Hall. Actually, went with Dan and our friend Meeks.
Oh yeah.
And John Williams wasn't there or anything. It was just
playing every instrument.
just a collection of his music. But the music, the sound in there is incredible. Seeing a live orchestra is always amazing.
I've heard he's
they played
good.
Jewel of the Fates, and they had a live choir singing, and it was just unbelievable. And hearing the Star Wars medley absolutely got me. I think that music is sort of transcendent anyway. But also, like, even things I didn't know that I loved. Sometimes you just get hit. I went and saw Paramore play in Bristol many years ago, and I quite like Paramore. But when they came on stage and they played That's What You Get, I just started sort of crying. And I didn't know that I loved that song or that moment, but it was like an amazing thing, and it sort of struck me that was all in me already. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird having
It's
that.
just like these incredibly meaningful bits of music or film. It's strange that you can pack them away, isn't it? Like that.
Yeah.
That was the maddest thing to me about the Python thing. I was just like, and I think it's because like it seems a bit juvenile, and I like a certain sort of music, like sort of emo. I guess it's sort of emo, right?
Yeah, sort of.
And maybe it seems like it's something which a younger person is super into. It's like a bit of a scene thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but for Python that was it. And then I went and I joined the media. I was having a media career, and I was trying to spent probably loads of time trying to be all arch and cool.
Yeah.
It's like I actually really really love Monty.
I suppose
Python.
it's a similar thing. I spent years listening to Paramore, and then there they were in front of me playing a song I really loved. I spent years watching Star Wars, years watching the Millennium Falcon do amazing, cool shit that I love. Right. And then there it was, and obviously it's not the real Millennium Falcon, and the real Millennium Falcon doesn't exist. No. But
doesn't matter. The feelings that you have around it are real.
Yes.
Oh, that was a lesson taught to us by Galaxy Quest.
Exactly.
Was it?
We had this discussion about Alan Rickman and about how the film recognised that the thing doesn't have to be real, but the emotions it provides has meaning in itself.
Well done, Galaxy Quest.
I think you made that point, Rob.
We've got very far away,
Just
Rob, from your question. Do you have any obscure bits and pieces?
Nothing that I would say is obscure. I mean, I've got some Final Fantasy figurines that are now. I think having listened to you speak about this, I hope this is true as well. Like, I reckon the 20s, when you're in the 20s and 30s, I think those are rubbish decades. I really do. And I'm approaching 40 now, and I'm like,
this is my time.
When I'm in my 40s, I'm going to just start enjoying all the things that I know I enjoy and have just fooled myself or forbidden myself from enjoying because of some kind of, I should have grown out of this by now, excuse.
Yeah.
Like, that I haven't really done much about in my 20s and 30s.
This is how Brexit happened, isn't it?
Ah, yes.
After all,
yeah. But, I really like Magic the Gathering. I really like Final Fantasy.
I saw your Magic cards on your desk.
There's a Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set coming out soon. And
isn't there a Lord of the Rings one too?
There is one, yeah. but for some reason, the Final Fantasy one is getting me more excited.
Fair
I
enough.
really want that.
Hey, for Magic, is that something you can play on your own, or do you have to play against?
You have to play it against people, but you can on your own, which is what I like to do. Just sit and look at your cards,
Look at the cards.
Yes,
and
fair.
read them and smell them.
Yeah,
Because they smell great.
Rub them on your face.
Yes. But I really just want those cards. And I felt it in me. I was like, no, it's all right. It's all right to want those cards.
It is. The number of Star Wars kind of board games and board gamey like things that I have, things that are unopened, unplayed, but I want to believe that one day I could play them. And also I like looking at the cards and the little figurines and seeing how they've translated the lore and the characters into those things. It's very cool. But I think I suppose what we're talking about are tactile things. Like having a thing is so much better than a digital version of a thing.
I've gone right around the houses on this because I used to have like a collecting bug for records as well as movies when I was younger, and I think probably when digital media became more dominant and like I had kids and there was very few, you run out of space, and ultimately the collections, like as soon as Blu-rays came along, it was kind of like I've got hundreds of DVDs, and I was super into movies and I was like studying them, so they had like some value, but they've been in my basement for ages. That thing that in the Civilian Observer, which I wrote, most of that stuff is just packed away, and it was so nice taking it out. And I'm glad that I've kept hold of it. But I mean, it is ultimately a little bit futile as well. And like in the idea of collecting, I think I don't know, like there's that suggestion that dopamine or any kind of any reward that your brain gives you for searching and finding out things is maybe like a holdover from like an evolutionary process where it was, people who did that tended to find more sources of being alive than other people, and that's why that has remained with us. But then it kind of bounces up against, realizing at a certain point, well, I'm going to run out of room in my house. I'm really like collecting these things without really using them as much and just simply owning them is sort of empty. And what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm just feeling quite down on it, really. And I go round and round because then getting out a few select pieces was really, really nice. But then
I think you've got to do that though. If you, my grandparents were avid collectors of commemorative ware, like royal plates,
yes,
cups, teapots, tea sets. Like they
I just
loved
remember
it.
the Adam and Joe, the Queen sketch. Sorry.
That's all right.
And I got a lovely plate with the face of Willie and Katie on the plate.
And they absolutely loved doing it. And you could, you get a lot of it in charity shops. So they would find bargains and they'd be really excited if they, kind of like Antiques Roadshow style.
I love charity shop
found
dipping.
50p, and this is worth at least £2. And aside from like, I reckon maybe 1% of their collection you could see in their house. The rest of it lived in cupboards, in boxes, in the loft, in boxes. And I know this because when they died, we had to clear out their house.
Yeah,
and the true scale of their collection became apparent. It brought them so much joy, but ultimately it felt very sad to me that it was all just in boxes, and then I'm just having to deal, or my family are just sort of like, what do we do with this? So we,
this has got quite morbid.
It meant a lot to them.
This is ultimately how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Like you're leaving a problem for people to solve. Like, and it's
an emotional problem as well.
That's the thing. And I find it every time I have a clear out, you get to like a hard core of things, which it feels a bit like you're actually getting through the dead skin into the nerves now. And it's difficult to get rid of them. But at the same time, I've lived some places where it's been really cluttered because there's stuff which I can't afford to, or I feel like it's difficult to get rid of. It reminds me of the line in Fight Club, which is, talking about like, it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? But there's the line, my God, it sounds so sixth form, but the things that you own now own you. And I've always, every time I've had a clear out and I've gone like, I want to get rid of this pen, and the pen is like, you might use me one day.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, pen, fuck off. And actually, it's quite easy to get rid of a pen. But then when it's like something I paid money for, or just like, oh, I was going to wear that shirt and I've never worn it, I should wear it once before I get rid of it. Like that kind of thinking, like it destroys me. So then I'm like, purge everything, get rid of everything. Yeah, it's really tricky.
I don't like getting rid of toys that my daughter no longer plays with, but that I remember her really liking at a certain stage in her life. Especially all of the Jurassic World toys that I bought her that I would have loved when I was a child.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't care about dinosaurs anymore. When she was 4, she just loved dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So she's got the T-Rex, the Indominus Rex, Brachiosaurus, just a whole big drawer full of these amazing dinosaur toys.
I've got, my basement's full of like...
Could just go to a new home.
Brio wood.
She's got like a real Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, nice.
I used to put the Buzz Lightyear around the house when she was about 4. And she thought he was real. And
had been playing.
And had been like, he was quite naughty, Buzz Lightyear. I used to make him look like he was about to fly, like in the film where he thinks he could fly.
Yeah.
So he'd always be standing on top of a wardrobe with his wings out and his arms out. And she'd be like, oh my God, Buzz, you've moved. He's moved again. He's moved again. He's trying to fly. And now every time I see that Buzz, I'm like, oh.
We've still got, Jay was like well into Brio trains when he was a kid. He used to just make different circuits all the time. He used to love it. And the same Gauge, the Early Learning Centre, used to sell Bob the Builder toys.
Right.
And so like they mixed up world of Bob the Builder toys. And I used to be able to do a really good impression of Muck from Bob the Builder. And so like I used to talk to Jay on like a radio, like a walkie-talkie as Muck. Oh,
wow.
Man. Oh, it's so...
Good times.
Good times.
But Rob, you were talking about, as you move into your 40s, becoming a bit more, after all, right, why not, about your fandom.
Why not, yeah.
I think part of the problem with collecting things is or for me anyway, is that I don't feel able to display them in my house.
This was one of my questions. Very specifically, do you display the thing? Are these things you proudly display, or are they hidden away?
So, what about you? And as you move into your 40s, will that change?
I don't know. Well, I don't own enough that I could really display anything other than I'll put a figurine of Cloud on the mantelpiece.
Yeah.
It'd look quite odd amongst all the
All of
other...
us have got one of the rarest PlayStations in the world.
That's true.
And we didn't even bring it up, which I feel reveals that maybe that feels more like a work subdivision.
It does.
Because we've got quite a lot of really nice little bits and pieces which have come our way.
I mean, undoubtedly, we are all huge fans of games and especially of PlayStation. And I think that we have, well, unless you would disagree. Oh, you're agreeing. That's all right, fine. Sorry. I thought you were disagreeing for some reason. I was like, what? That's the person I thought I knew. And I suppose, we do. It is tied closely with work, which is weird when we have this conversation. And because I think that, I
would display
some amazing
something
things
in my house
PlayStation.
to do with PlayStation, but it would be probably like filtered through the fact that it is a professional thing and that it's a very nuanced, long-standing, complicated thing. I would want like one or two unusual, like elegant things.
Yes.
Like just like a classic poster of the family logo or like a Last of Us artwork or something like, do you know what I mean? Like one or two, rather than like, here's my 20th anniversary PS4. Like I wouldn't put that on display probably.
I'd love to one day be lucky enough to own a room, like the
That's
cliche,
what you need.
a man cave, as they would call it, and I just put all my stuff in there. But again, I just don't have. I saw a photo the other day of my university bedroom, and in the background of this photo, there was like my cupboard with all my stuff in it, and I could see a bunch of stuff in there that I know that I no longer have, and felt sad that I just, for whatever reason, just binned it all. I do remember leaving university and just filling up bin bags of CDs, stuff, books.
Jamiroquai CDs.
Literally, yeah. There were one or two Jamiroquai CDs in there for sure. Just getting rid of it all.
Yeah.
So if I had a man cave, I'd have to start from scratch almost. I'd have a very barren Billy bookcase probably with a few Final Fantasy figures on it, and that's it.
Why is that? What am I getting at? I just wrote the Patreon post saying that we weren't going to be doing Star Wars, and I described myself as, Star Wars being probably too large a part of my identity. And I guess that's kind of what we're getting at a little bit, isn't it? It's like fandom, it does become part of your identity, and having these things, it's like, I don't know, there's something about you leaving university and deciding like putting all those things in the bin. Mm-hmm. It feels a bit larger than just its stuff, but also a bit like
I'm moving on from this person. I'm no longer a child.
Yes.
And adults don't collect toys and things.
And I've hidden stuff away and been scared to reveal that it's part of my identity. I mean, like, my house is not like a shrine to Star Wars, in part because I wouldn't want people to come around and think this guy loves Star Wars.
It's also the prequels.
That's
that is the other thing about Star Wars.
That's true. It's something I would choose to reveal to myself, to someone, rather than being like, "Hi, I'm Dave and I love Star Wars." It's just I don't know. It's an interesting part of this conversation.
I have lots of posters in my house. I'm just doing up my house properly for the first time since we've lived there. So actually, loads of them are going to be displayed, and most of them are things which are less obvious. I guess I've always had that in my personality where I'm like, if other people are doing it, I'd like to do it a little bit, in a slightly different way. Maybe that's what you're saying, you're looking forward to moving past, Rob. And I don't really take, even saying it out loud is me trying to reject it. It's quite a difficult thing to let go of. Like I prefer things which are a little bit offbeat or unusual if I was going to celebrate things that I like. So I've got like, I prefer, like, there's a Nigel Neal BBC supernatural drama called The Stone Tape. I've got a poster of that. I've got a poster of The Conformist, which is one of my favourite films. And I've got my kids bought me. It's funny when other people buy it. It's way more meaningful. Like my kids bought me. Gene Hackman just died recently, and The Conversation has always also been one of my favourite movies. They bought me a Conversation poster, and I love that. And I probably wouldn't have bought it for myself. So that's interesting. But yeah, it tends to be. Although then when we were decorating the office, I was going through a period of like revisiting loads of the fantasy books, which again I kind of told myself I'd grown out of because I went and I studied literature, and I got into not reading about dragons.
Sure.
And but then when we were doing this place, I was sort of rediscovering that stuff, and there were loads of posters which you vetoed, actually, Dave. One of them.
Did I?
No, not really. Well, like it certainly felt like it was, and I knew it was like something I wanted. But there was that. There's a poster by an artist called Christos Achilleos of a dragon on a drawbridge to a castle, and it is part of the inspiration for the dragons that have existed in the Dark Souls, in the Souls games. Miyazaki used to read fighting fantasy novels in Japan, and I'd love for that to be in the office. And I guess like that, I would never normally have 10 years ago, I would have been like, no, why would I want a bit of fighting fantasy art on my wall? And now I'm like, well, it's not who I am now necessarily. It's not. I'm not running home and playing game books, but it's important to me that those things are part of my journey. I said the word journey.
I was gonna say actually that like we have this other place for the three of us, which is this office that we have, which is a kind of a cheat code for this, because again I do actually have things here that I wouldn't display at home.
Like your lightsabers.
Like my lightsabers. I've got Star Wars Lego around and about the place. There's a few board games.
I think one of the PlayStation symbol lights on there is mine, that my sister bought me for Christmas.
Right.
It wouldn't go in my house.
Yeah.
But it goes on the shelf there quite nicely.
And also it's interesting that I would be kind of nervous to have some of this stuff on display at home, like I said, because it reveals a bit too much of myself. But then here, it's like we want people to, if people visit the office, we want them to see what we like, what we're about. And it's interesting that those same things in a different location.
It reminds me actually that I've often wondered about getting a tattoo. I guess because my kids more recently have started talking about it, and what would you have and why?
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I was like, well, I always felt stupid about the idea. Like I'm a devoted to something. What if I change my mind?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And actually, as I grew up, I wish I'd gotten a few, made some good choices, but I kind of regret that. I think it's okay to commit to things, although rather than just skating above stuff for the whole time.
Or even if you later come out of that commitment, just like the little reminder of them.
Yeah.
Like, I often think it's quite sad that my house has no real... Like, if there was an episode of Through the Keyhole and Lloyd Grossman was like, who lives in a house like this?
Yeah.
There'd be nothing in my house that would suggest I lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit sad.
We've made ourselves sad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sometimes
I want to
fandom
get
is
a
sad.
tattoo of the Meteor logo from Final Fantasy VII. That would be cool.
I always
Don't you think
wanted,
that'd be cool, Dave?
Very cool. I was thinking I'd like to go to a Final Fantasy VII concert. Now that I've played the
wouldn't know-
game,
oh,
the
you actually played it,
the
yeah.
music is fantastic, and I'm sure that is it Distant Worlds.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's from many Final Fantasies.
It is.
So I wouldn't go to that, but a Final Fantasy VII specific one, I'd
Well,
definitely.
there was a
go to.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth one that I went to last year.
Was that good?
Very good.
I'm glad.
Very good.
But yes, I don't have any tattoos. I'm the same as you, Nathan. I do think that I worry too much about the perfect choice. It must be what is the
Right.
tattoo that
Parallel.
is perfectly like
Sums me up.
sums me up, and I just can't do it.
I always wanted to get. Mogwai was probably always my favorite band, and they had like their second album, I guess, their first proper album. It's called Mogwai Young Team, and they had like a kind of Japanese style. It looked like kanji, kind of, but it was just like the initials of Mogwai Young Team set in a box, but it looked like graffiti. Should have got it. Should have got it at the time. Oh well. I'd have probably fucked it up. I'd have probably got it massive or at an angle or something.
We should all have PlayStation Access tattoos on our foreheads.
Yes.
Forehead!
Like the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah, that would be nice. There are lots of questions here that I think we've probably touched on all of these questions. So that might be a good time to wrap up this episode. I thought I was going to feel happy after this, but now I just feel
It's been interesting, hasn't it?
a bit melancholy.
It has been a bit melancholy, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But I need to further investigate it.
It feels like a sort of therapy session.
Yes.
It feels like it got quite real.
I don't know what I want to do with my fandom. What does this mean? What do I want to do?
What it reveals to me is that it's quite knotty, isn't it? I feel sort of tied up pulled in a few different directions, and that these things which ultimately should be expressions of things which bring us joy, there are difficulties associated with them which I'm trying to drag into the open a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a strange experience.
Same time again next week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, next week, hopefully, we should be, and I'm making no promises because we've made false promises before, but this time next week, we will be starting the first of whatever the next series is.
Yeah.
So if you do have any suggestions, anything you particularly like us to delve into, please do contact us. Our email address is redshirtcinemaclub@gmail.com. We're also going to be here again on Wednesday with a bonus episode if you are part of our Commander tier on Patreon, or indeed a member on YouTube, of which I think we have 8. Is it 8
What an
members
elite
on
group.
YouTube?
Yeah. That is an elite group.
Yeah.
Don't be both a YouTube member and a Commander on Patreon, because they are the same thing but just on different platforms. So we would appreciate your support if you've been thinking of taking a deeper dive into the world of Red Shirt Cinema Club. But thank you very much again for listening and for your patience as we decide what's next for us. We will be back again next week with another episode. See you then. You've been listening to Red Shirt Cinema Club. If you're enjoying the podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just check the link in the description. We'd also love to hear from you. Email us at redshirtcinemaclub@gmail.com or follow us on social media. We'll be back with another episode next Monday. See you then.